We are in a boat, and now there's a very good reason for that, and it all has to do with some of the materials that I'm going to need for my ancient Aztec city. So to explain that, take it away, Parsurusa. So to achieve that marble limestone texture, the plan is to use a palette of 4 blocks. So we're going to use sand, sandstone, white concrete powder, and calcite. So as you can see, this palette gives you a bit of texture with the sand and the smoothness of the sandstone and calcite, and a bit of those lighter colors as well. We've got white and a light yellow. So that will definitely be helpful to achieve kind of a similar look to what I was going for before. And then as well, closer to the pyramid, I want to have some grass and mud probably for the more natural elements, and then I'll blend it between the two. Now for these blocks here, sand, very easy to get. I've already got a lot of it. Sandstone as well, white concrete, I've got a lot of it. Calcite, on the other hand, will be a bit more difficult. So for calcite, it's one of those few blocks that you can't farm, you can't craft, and you can't trade for it with villagers. So thank you, Parsurusa. So calcite, the block only generates in 2 areas. First one being stony peaks, and then the second one being amethyst geodes. So the reason we're in a boat is we're going through the ocean trying to find some of these amethyst geodes, which is surrounded by calcite. So I've got 5 shulker boxes ready, and I'm planning to load all of them up with calcite. So this might take a while, but we'll see how we go. So it took a long time, but we have finally got our 5 boxes of calcite. So let's put them down here. So 5 full shulker boxes of calcite. And now it actually took about double the time as well, because while mining for the calcite in the geodes, I actually died. I dug into some lava, got stuck there and died, which also meant that not only did I lose about 3 shulker boxes of calcite that I had already mined, but I also lost all of my old armor. So I had to come back. I already had some armor laying around, which I used, but then I had to remake my tools. So stuck with a diamond axe and shovel for the time being, because I don't actually have a upgrade template, because all of my netherite tools I made before they updated it into that. So anyway, that was a lot of fun, having to replace everything. But after that happened, I decided to change strategy. As I said before, there were 2 ways of digging for calcite. You can either go in the geodes, which is what I did, and that's how I dug into the lava, or you can go to snowy peaks. So I decided I'd try out going to a snowy peak, and went into the nether, went about 4,000 blocks away to the nearest snowy peak, set up another portal there, and it was actually a lot easier to get calcite. There was a lot of calcite there in strips, which I was able to mine quickly as well. Thankfully, it's an insta-mine block, so it was very quick doing it at the stony peaks. And while I was there, I actually found this really cool kind of landscape with a stony peak where, I don't know, I was thinking maybe I could use that for a future project, but that will be for the future, because at the moment I still got a lot of ideas for what we're working on now. But anyway, back here, think about the palette that we've got for our flooring. We've got our calcite, we've got our sand and sandstone. I'll have to make up some white concrete, but that shouldn't be too much of a problem. Now, the only thing that I'll need in addition to all of this is grass blocks, which we've got in abundance in our storage system here. And then another thing we'll need is moss as well. So when it comes to moss, I've already got a moss farm down here somewhere. So down here in my farming area, I do have a moss farm, but this is actually converting all of the moss into bone meal. So what I'm going to do is, probably using a design similar to this, I'm going to rebuild the moss farm we've got here in a smaller array, and I'll use that to collect all the moss I'm going to need for this new farm. All right, so we have collected all of the materials that we're going to need for the farm. It's actually a pretty cheap design, resource-wise. So I'm using a design by Basic Redstone, which I found was probably the most efficient for the space it's using. And because it doesn't use that much space, I'm thinking I'll just build it here right next to where we've already got our moss farm, just over here, and then connect it to the main storage system. So anyway, let's get building. Okay, so we have got our moss farm fully up and running now. It's producing pretty well already. It actually took a bit longer to build than I originally expected, mostly because I'm stupid and kept messing up the redstone ticks, but it's all sorted now and working very well. So this farm will actually produce, I think, 4 different items. We've got seeds, moss carpet, the moss book, which is of course what we wanted, and flowering azalea and normal azalea as well. So 5 blocks. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to, much like I did with the bone meal farm, I'm just going to take the output of this, connect it to our main storage, and then add in some item filters to load the shulker box. So I get started on that now. Hopefully it shouldn't take too long. Then we can get back to working on our base. So our moss farm is fully up and running and operational now. We redesigned a bit an app system so it wasn't backend. Yeah. I've had it running for about half an hour and I've already had like quite a bit of moss come through. So over here we've got 1 shulker box of moss, another shulker box, and then I had to add a second one because Juice can fix another shulker. So there it is. So that's 3 shulker boxes in half an hour, which is pretty good because I definitely will be using that block a lot in the future. So what's left now is I just need to make up some more white concrete powder. And then after that, I should be able to start filling in the flooring around the temple. So I'll get that started and see you there. Right, so I've collected all of the resources that we're going to be needing for the flooring, at least for this part. I've cleared out this section of the flooring where the kind of more green strip, I guess, will be. So I'll start filling that in now and we'll see how it looks. so part one of the flooring is now done. I'm pretty happy with how it looks actually. I think it blends really well between the grass and moss and will be sandstone area, which you see more where the stairs are. So all of this is done. All I've got to do now is just fill in where we've got water and a few holes, and then I'll be able to put in the rest of the flooring, which is a more whitish sandstone, white concrete texture. So let's get started on that. Well, that's the flooring done. It took a while and I only needed to refill my resources once, which was not very fun. Anyway, we've got heaps and heaps, heaps, some resources left. A lot of it is here in the floor anyway. So that's most of this section done then. The only thing left is to add a bit of nature to this nature part. So I'm going to have to probably cut down some trees because I've got to do some deforestation to do some forestation. But first, I've definitely got to clear up all of these chests of resources. So I'm going to head back, collect about 100 shulker boxes, box all this up, and then start adding in trees, foliage, maybe some bamboo as well. So let's get into that now then. And with these blocks, we should now be officially done. So I'm pretty pleased with how it came out. I wanted it to look like these trees were originally part of the forest and they've just kind of been left there as the city's been built around it. So I'm pretty happy with how it's looking. And when there's been empty space, I've just tried to kind of fill it in with bamboo. Obviously, as it grows, it'll look more filled in, but I'm pretty happy with it. But to get a proper idea of how it's looking, we are going to have to put the shades on and take a look at it. So let's see how it goes. Yep, I'm pretty happy with that. That looks really cool. And I think it's a good kind of foundation for extending the rest of this landscape to form eventually the major city. So anyway, that will be the end for this video. Thank you very much for watching and see you all next time.